Good morning, good afternoon, and good evening, wherever you are in the world. I'm your host, Jay Acharya, and this is the Becoming the Leader in You podcast. In every episode, I'll be talking to guests about their leadership stories, both personal and also professional, stories of their inspirations, their successes, and of course, challenges and how they overcame them. However, before we get any further, please don't forget to like, subscribe, share, comment, and as well as being on YouTube, you can also listen to us on Apple, Amazon, Spotify, and all the other podcast stations. My guest today works as a strategic partner across construction, housing, and engineering, helping leaders deal with complex expectations, regulatory pressure, and shifting cultures without losing their heads. Her focus is turning big operating model ambitions into clear decisions, better leadership behavior, and real improvements in user experience. She's worked across charities, private and public sectors, and NGOs, and even found time to build 2 businesses along the way. She's written national policy on race and housing and led an EDI strategy in construction that reached 27,000 employees globally. She's also highly qualified, ILM Level 7, Fellow of the Association for Business Mentors, and also Fellow of the Chartered Institute of Personnel Development. So yeah, she knows her stuff. She's also known for her spark and straight talking, and she challenges leaders while still keeping them on side. So if you ever wondered, how do you simplify complexity without oversimplifying the problem, I think you're going to enjoy this one. Please welcome Barbara Carlisle of Glee Coaching. Barbara, morning.
Morning, Jay.
How are you today?
I'm okay. I'm good. I'm very
Excellent.
good today.
Thank you so much for taking time to come onto the podcast. It's always appreciated when we have fantastic guests like yourself coming online and taking time out to talk to the listeners and the viewers on how you started Glee Coaching, how you came to the leadership environment. So give us a brief understanding of who you are and also what Glee Coaching does.
Okay, so and thank you for that introduction as well. As your introduction suggested, I'm the founder of Glee Coaching, which is a training agency and strategic partner for housing and construction. And it's been going for about 4 years. It was something that I've always wanted to do, coaching and training. But, I've had the privilege of being in great jobs, but got made redundant 4 years ago. And so set up this business. And like you said in the introduction, it is really to support the construction, housing and engineering sector, because there's so many brilliant people working in that sector. And, there's how should I describe it? There's lots of different leadership styles that I've witnessed. And I have my view on what a leader looks like, and you can have your own view, and that is absolutely fine.
Okay. So you mentioned earlier on, Barbara, about having an opinion on what leadership styles are like. So give me a quick example of what your understanding of what a leader is.
Well, the sort of nature of leadership implies that you're going to lead somebody, something, a business, an organization, a team. Yeah. My perception of leadership is about understanding yourself and to yourself before you can listen to anybody else. I truly believe that if you want to be a leader, you have to connect with your mind, with your body, listen to what your body is telling you. You have to listen to what your creative mind is nudging you towards, and also your logical mind. So I think it means, for me, being a leader is actually sitting with the feelings of anxiety, of anticipation, of excitement, of hope, of frustration, of uncertainty, and acknowledging those. Instead of trying to be something that somebody's said you are or should be, or you've seen role models in the organization or in your life that you want to emulate, absolutely fine, but stop and think, who am I? I mean, this sounds quite existential, doesn't it? But it is about connecting with self and then appreciating the things that you're absolutely brilliant at, and where you're, if you're like me, slightly quirky.
Okay. Excellent. Okay, so slightly quirky. Let's get into my first question for today. So thank you for that. My first question delves into what the podcast is all about. It's called Becoming the Leader in You. So what does that mean to yourself, becoming the leader in you?
It's complex, isn't it? Because as humans, we are extremely complex individuals. So becoming the leader in me is, like I've just advocated, listening to myself. And, it's listening to yourself, because so many times we seek validation. We seek, is this the right thing for me? Is this the right thing for my family? Is this the right thing for my business? And ultimately, being a leader, you have to make those decisions. And so it's sitting with all that complexity and all those feelings and going, right, what is actually important here for me today, now? Okay, acknowledge the past, but let's not dwell too much in the past. Let's see where we could go, and how can you, for me, it's like I've got lots of different interests, and it's trying to manage all those at the same time. So like I said, I love pottery, I love walking, I love swimming, I love being with my family, but there's only 24 hours in a day. So being the leader is about prioritization, really, and also being respectful of what environment you're in and what others need and want from you, and what's reasonable for you to give.
Absolutely.
And also to take, actually, what can you take from the environment, from the people? You're not an island. Don't try and do everything on your own.
Exactly. And it's the fact that when we talk about the complexities and also the priorities, we do forget that if you're a leader, if you're running your own business with staff, sometimes you have to make those difficult or challenging decisions to support the teams. And it's difficult sometimes when they don't understand the reasons and the purposes why you're making those decisions. And talking about decisions and the things that you do, Glee Coaching does a lot of work around EDI, equality, diversity, integration. And one of the things that I mentioned at the within the introduction was the fact that you created a strategy for 27,000 employees globally. What sort of challenges did you face in being able to put that out there?
Yeah, great question. Lots of challenges. The first strategy was all around the UK, so that was 5,000 folk. And the challenge there was, just to set the scene, the business had never had any equality policy or intentions necessarily before. Brilliant business to work for. But when I went in with a social policy background, I was like, ooh, it doesn't quite feel right in this organization. Lovely, 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 lovely folk. But, just from what I saw, say, for example, from an ethnicity perspective, it wasn't particularly diverse, or from what I could see in the UK. And so what that took was tenacity and influence and nudging. And some direct conversations. So, and also it took people to believe in the cause and in the vision. So but the CEO at the time believed in that vision of better representation, cognitive diversity for competitive advantage, for example. So, that sponsor was absolutely needed. And one of the challenges was I sat underneath the CEO. So I wasn't sitting in HR or the people function. And so you were never seen as that ambiguity of where do you actually sit? How can you influence when you don't have a massive budget, when you don't have any people in your team? So it was harnessing the passion from across the business, and setting up affinity groups or employee resource groups, as some organizations call them, and literally having 25 people in 7 or 8 affinity groups, giving them little budgets, aligning what they want to do from their passions, that they were all doing outside normal working, not necessarily hours, but working remit. So, that magic time. So we were like a little army of absolutely dedicated people, and challenging our thinking on, well, what does equality, what is equity, what is fairness, what is belonging?
Yeah.
How does it fit with the Sustainable Development Goals? How does it fit with human rights?
Yeah.
And using any platform. And one of the big learnings for me was actually people come on board the bus, the boat, whichever analogy you want to use, when they're ready.
Yeah.
And when they feel safe to do so. And
Okay.
so it's about, for me, it was about holding off judgment of
Yeah.
why isn't everybody jumping on this amazing bus of equality? I believe in it, so everybody else should. So having a bit of humility and understanding everybody comes from a different starting point.
Of course.
So,
And I think when we talk about the UK, for example, you mentioned that there's you start off with 5,000 within the UK. We understand equality, diversity, and equity and inclusion in so many responsible ways. Working with different countries and cultures, there's the realization that EDI is misunderstood or not understood at all. So how did you engage different cultures to understand the benefits of knowing what EDI actually is?
I think I might challenge you on that, Jay.
Okay.
Because in every culture, people want equity and fairness. It's whether the label of EDI is something that the senior leadership want to get behind. And within all organisations, you find advocates of equality for sure and inclusion. So it's not about introducing a new concept to different cultures. It's about understanding that culture and how equality and equity shows itself and can be used to its advantage. So one of the roles I did, so we started off in the UK, then went to Europe, Middle East, linking that with social value, exploring what that looked like for the business. And then the business set up a global diversity, equity, inclusion, belonging. And I became the interim director of employee engagement. So it was connecting with each of the countries in Europe and America, in particularly the lawyers, around what could we ask our folk from a diversity and inclusion perspective on a global survey. So there was lots of healthy debate was another concept that you definitely have to get used to when you're dealing with EDI on that level, and being sensitive, because especially with data collection, like what is legitimate to collect, and the GDPR aspects, obviously that's just, for me, that's just compliance, but the deeper is like, why would somebody want to share this? There has to be a level of psychological safety and respect for those gathering the data, that whatever data we gather, we will use it for the benefit of society and for the benefit of our clients and for our folk, not just collecting data for data's sake. And I think that's a big challenge for global HR teams and people teams, is that we need to act. If we're asking for information that's sensitive, we need to act on it in a fair and equitable manner and proportionate.
Thank you for explaining that. And I always love people challenging me back, so I totally get where you're coming from. My second question is about your influences, the people that have influenced you or inspired you. So who would you say has most shaped you as the person that you are today?
Well, we can't really ever get away from the environment that we've been raised in, you know, that nurture, nature, choice triangle that we have in our lives all the time. And, you know, it's, for me, when I look at the environment that I've been raised in, that's made it has a massive impact on me, positive and perhaps not always positive. And instead of going down the sort of professional, because I have had quite a few inspiring managers in the past, which I'm happy to talk about. But, you know, if I think about my mum of five, constantly positive, constantly creative, constantly fulfilling all our needs, plus half of the streets that we used to live in, you know, being that real hub and that beautiful soul inside and out. So, you know, something to live up to. And she always had that like just do it attitude. She was a stay-at-home mum, and I absolutely think she had untapped potential that she was never able to really fulfill. unfortunately she's died now. Then there's my dad, lower middle class. Dad was a miner, lived in the sort of terraced houses in St Helens, doors were kept open type thing.
Yeah.
Lived next door to his auntie, uncles, all that, really close community.
Yeah.
But he strived for recognition, and I can see that in my day-to-day. He advised us not to do anything creative, so really stymied and made me feel that I shouldn't be creative because it was better to do academic stuff, which then, I went off and did research and stuff. So, but admire that work ethic. We worked really hard. This person in the family just went and did, but was very funny when he was able to let his hair down. And then the other thing, which I'm not sure I really ever hear very much on podcasts, is religion. I was brought up as a Catholic. And, I'm happy to have healthy debates with people. I'm not a practicing Catholic anymore, but I obviously respect people's religion. But there were great things that came out of that. Yeah. That servant leadership approach to humanity, look after your neighbour. But then the downside of that was like the Catholic guilt that you feel. I can't really showcase what I'm doing. It's not what we do. Yeah. And it's that oppression. And I don't want to say that. I say that more in my mind, not. I don't mean obviously oppression of lots of people in my situation, but that, have I got permission to do that? So they were influential, as well as lots of great managers and friends who've inspired me as well.
It's when you said that you don't hear much about religion on podcasts, I for one always talk about faith and culture excuse me, when I'm doing any of my consultative work or training. I do, as I said before, I do a lot of work in certain countries in the Middle East, in Southeast Asia, where faith belief is at the forefront of everything that they do. And one of the things that I always try and get them to understand is that it's great to have your beliefs and have your faith that direct who you are. But from a business perspective, one has to take that thought process into a business world and try not to bring the faith and culture into it, because that could either draw you down or take you into a different direction. And it has different conversations happening with it, but it's amazing how many people now are more open to that. But coming back to the question about inspiration, how do you use the values or the learning that you or the inspiration that you got from your parents and those earlier leaders? How do you bring that learning into what you're doing today?
Oh, good question. Well, with my coaching clients and participants in training programs, my mum's attitude of just do it. You can do anything, and it's great to be in a group, and it's great to express your feelings and your thoughts, and there's no bad idea. So definitely bring that sort of thing into my practices. And looking at my dad, like work ethic, we do have to work for what we want, and also about the understanding of the silence of responsibility, particularly within male cohorts, giving them space to actually open up and talk about their feelings and about how, perhaps being perceived as needing to be the breadwinner, how that shows up in how they are in the workplace.
Wow. And you thinking about EDI right now and trying to carefully construct my next question. You work in a very masculine environment within the construction area and construction industry. How are you perceived within that industry with the programs, the thought processes that you bring forward to improve those working environments?
I'm perceived very well, thank you, Jay. I think quite a significant number of my one-to-one clients, so they're the people who come to me outside the corporate space and say, I think I would value you coaching me. They tend to be men.
Right.
And so in that sense, I feel I'm perceived as somebody they can trust. and that somebody who understands the environment in which they're operating in.
Sure.
And somebody who can give them healthy challenge.
Fantastic.
Without judgment, because that's the fun. I'm going to call it fun because it is fun, that creative bit of helping people, mirroring back to people, really simple coaching techniques in one sense.
Yeah.
You need the humor and the trust for it to have an impact, and helping. I think it's that challenging enough that they're pushed well out of the comfort zone, but not challenging enough that they feel that you're judging them for being too directive or too compliant or too protective. So it's like I think I am well perceived. And there are lots and lots of women in construction as well, and growing. So working with those women, particularly around empowerment and bringing, the old question, well, two questions. I've got imposter syndrome or imposter phenomena. And do I fit? What do I need to do to fit?
Yeah, that actually answers another question as well, because I was going to say, going back to my introduction, in the introduction, I spoke about you challenge leaders while keeping them on side. So my question was going to be, what methods or what techniques do you use to do that?
Secret, not telling you. No, I think you're building a relationship with people. So you can have an effective coaching session if you just have 1 hour. If you've got something very tactical and tangible to discuss and to solve. But coaching works best when there's a co-collaborative relationship built up over time.
Absolutely.
And you can reference back. One of the tools I use is referencing back. So if you show up 1 month or 1 week and you're saying one thing, and you show up another month and you're saying exactly the same thing, I will remember what people said last time and support them into thinking, well, why am I bringing this up again? What is it? What's the driver here? And, really simple techniques that it's like pointing out that somebody's got broccoli on the teeth. Do you do it, or do you just leave it because it's not like that awkwardness of, I better not tell them that they've got broccoli just on the teeth. But, telling them, you keep saying, I don't care. I don't care when you're describing being, having a hard time with your board, for example, but you keep telling me that you don't care. What's sitting behind that? Do you want to explore it? And generally they go, oops. And we explore that, like what's the defense mechanism hiding or covering? And how does that support you? And how does it support you?
Oh, wonderful. My next question is about belief in leadership. As a consultant, as a trainer, as a coach, I'm sure you have some great beliefs in doing the right thing around leadership. What would you say you truly believe in that other people around you may sort of disagree with?
Just to say as well, Jen, this isn't a challenge necessarily. I think, people lead in absolutely different ways, and there's not always a right or wrong way. I think it's up to you as an individual to work that out. And maybe that links to the answer anyway. I think the one thing that we sometimes forget as a leader is we need to fill our own cup first. We need to be the number one in our team. And that doesn't mean, going around with a swagger. It means actually thinking, well, what do I need to support myself as a leader? And then what does my team need to support the team to be great as a leader? And I think sometimes leaders slip into what I call the nurturing, what's it called in the old radical candor, Kim Scott's quadrant is, ruinous empathy, trying to be too nice, trying to meet the needs of everybody else. And you absolutely just getting knackered. Getting really tired and exhausted and unmotivated by trying to please everybody else first and make sure everybody likes you. So I think we do have to be quite selfish as leaders.
Absolutely. And there needs to be a selfish arrogance as well, a positive arrogance,
Mm.
that I do understand what I'm doing, and working with you as my team, you all have responsibilities, and there's a reason why you're all working with me, because this is the way that we move forward. And a leader having their vision and having that support to achieve that vision or that mission or whatever. Barbara, I've got one final question, and
Yeah.
it's been a great conversation today. And we talk about conversations, we talk about us being true, natural, honest, transparent people. But what's an honest conversation that you might be avoiding with yourself?
What am I avoiding with myself? I think what I'm avoiding with myself is the fact that when you're made redundant from a job you love,
Mhm.
it takes it out of you, and that's okay. So the burnout dilemma,
Mhm.
what is burnout, what isn't? And I think there's probably more work for me to do on that,
Mhm.
because I was made redundant from my last role that I loved, and started this business straight away because I've got like that restless tendency. I'm creative. I'm a
Yeah.
go-getter. My dad said, just go out and do it. My mum said, just go out and do it. So I'm doing it without taking proper time to
Right.
go, whoa, wow, what happened there? Okay, so
Yeah.
it was 4 years ago. And as you know, in coaching, Jay, we look back, we
Mhm.
acknowledge what's happening, and then we say, what can we do with that new
Yeah.
awareness I've got now? And
Yeah.
I'm starting to go, right, okay, my awareness is that I was on the very cusp of burnout, but
Mhm.
now I laugh about it. Is that really the right response? What
Right.
more do I need to unpick to make sure that I am resilient in the future, happy
Mhm.
in the future, content with where I am in the
Mm.
future? Because as I just mentioned, I've got one of those restless personality profiles, and it just means that you're constant, high achiever in the sort of personal
Yeah.
sense, not necessarily in the academic sense, but constantly wanting to prove
Mm.
myself. And so I think there's a bit of work there for me. So if you know anybody, get them into
It's, I've said this on so many podcasts. A lot of the time, it's about do as I say, not as I do.
Oh,
But
absolutely, yes.
we have this habit of imparting our knowledge on others, but then when we have to look at ourselves in the mirror, it's kind of like, oh no, I've got this client to deal with, or that family business to deal with, or this to do with, and you forget everything you impart to your clients, and you just make decisions that you think, why did I do that? But it's part of who we are. We are only human.
Yes, yeah, and I do think, there are tools, aren't there, that, I really believe in. I don't believe we need to change. We
Mhm.
need to be aware and then adapt. So, the little habits that are gonna help us,
Yeah,
and
absolutely.
those little tiny things that we can do for ourselves.
Uh,
Journaling, absolutely,
yeah.
um, pivotal. My journaling is like basically 3 words, Jay.
Really?
It's not 3 pages, it's just 3 words of like, what's gone well, what's not gone so well,
Why
and the
is that?
gratitude. Because I haven't got the time. Many of my clients don't have the time
Yeah.
to journal, but I do firmly, and I do this with clients sometimes, is we
Mhm.
write the negativity that they're feeling onto words, and in the session, they may well throw
Mm.
them away as a sign of, getting rid of them out of their head for the
Yeah.
moment. Um, and I think sometimes we're set up to fail because there are some gurus, there's some influencers, and they're
Mm.
all so great at doing all these amazing habits that's changed their lives in one way or another.
Yeah.
But the reality is, if I find peace, comfort, and clarity in writing 3 words, and I do it every day in the morning,
Yeah.
well, 6 words, because I do 3 in the morning, 3 in the evening.
Okay.
That's good enough.
Yeah.
And that is changing my perception of self, my appreciation of the things I've got around me. And when I say what I've appreciated in the day, it's not, being invited to New York to speak at Women in Conference, although I'd do that if anybody asked me. It's that went to bed early,
Yeah.
read a chapter of my book.
Uh-huh.
So those, had a laugh with my daughters.
Yeah.
The really simple things that, make you smile and almost make you cry, because it's just what brings you joy in life.
Absolutely. And I'm so with you on that. It's about what makes you tick, what brings you joy. what makes you who you are. And you do realize, it is the support from the family that you've had. It's your children, it's your family, it's your friends who make you who you are today. I'm going to say, Barbara, thank you so much for your time today. It's always a pleasure talking to guests, and you've given us a better insight into who you are and how you work with your clients, and what Glee Coaching does as well. So we've got some great insights. But for anyone that would like to contact you or learn more about what Glee Coaching and you, Barbara, can offer, how can they get in touch with you?
I would always suggest LinkedIn. And I'm sure in the show notes you'll put my email, which is barbara@gleecoaching.com. And Barbara is spelled Barbra. That's another influence that my mother had. She's a fan of Barbra Streisand. So yeah, and I've got a website, which I'm sure you'll put into the notes.
Absolutely, I will. I will. So thank you again. And I'll make sure that everyone can see your information, and anyone listening on the podcast, I'll put it onto the descriptions for you as well. But as for today's Becoming the Leader in You podcast, thank you so much for watching and listening. Please don't forget to like, subscribe, share, so that you don't miss any episodes. And from me, keep growing, keep leading, but most importantly, become the leader in you. I've been Jay Acharya, and my guest today has been Barbara Carlisle of Glee Coaching. Thank you so much, Barbara.
No problem. Thanks a lot, Jay.